Hello Virgo, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and my name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of April 2022. This reading will be for Virgo Sun, Moon, and Rising, and as always, do keep in mind these readings are general in nature, so not all of the details that come through will pertain to your situation specifically, so definitely take anything and everything that resonates for you, however it makes sense for your specific situation. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful, and you can simply leave the rest. So happy spring, Virgo. We're finally here. The tides are starting to turn a little bit in terms of the weather. We're in the astrological new year. We've got kind of like new growth and opportunities coming up for us now. So I'm excited to take a look at the month of April and see what is going to be coming in for you. So I'll start the reading off by sharing the channeled messages. I took some time before I got your oracle cards out to channel some information. Then I'll go ahead and read your oracle cards. I'll pull you some tarot and clarifiers. We will finish off as usual with some affirmations, but I'm also going to do something differently. I'm going to pull a third and final oracle card at the very end of the reading, and instead of openly interpreting them like I do in depth at the beginning, I'm just going to read that directly from the guidebook, and we'll see if any of the themes are mirrored and see how that might tie everything together. I find that's a really fun way to do things. That's what I do when I'm reading for people in person, and it's really fun to kind of see what comes up in the reading, and then if that is also reflected in the final oracle card. So we will do that. So we'll get into it. And Virgo, before I was actually sitting down to intentionally channel your messages, I was kind of connecting to your energy. I was doing my usual kind of like ritual to prepare for the reading and to prepare the cards and everything. And it was really kind of interesting because it's the same ritual that I do every time. Each, deck that I work with, I essentially shuffle like, oh my gosh, maybe 3 or 4 times. And it's the same. I do it the same every single time. And this time, for some reason, it's the first time I've experienced this, but I was feeling irritated while I was doing it. And it's like every time that a card popped out, or that like I dropped a card, or like I was having a difficult time like getting them all neatly together, it's like I was starting to get frustrated and like irritated, and that's like totally unlike me. So you might be feeling particularly irritable this month, or like your patience might be tested a little bit, especially when it comes to order and getting things done effectively. There might be the sense of like the same little thing happening over and over again, and it like irritating you, or like trying to do something quickly and effectively, and it just keeps like messing up on you for whatever reason. So that's what I was kind of like picking up on. So like I said, that's something I've never actually experienced doing cards before. So keep that in mind if that's something that you're maybe already experiencing or that might be coming in for you. I don't know if it might resonate for you. So that might be kind of like I got the sense of like almost getting frustrated, like hitting your head against the wall. So your first message that came through was 852 hertz, like the frequency. And that immediately made me think of like, the solfeggio, like healing frequencies and binaural beats and stuff like that. So I ended up Googling that, and the significance here, I've got it. So it says 852 hertz is the highest frequency in the ancient solfeggio scale. It helps one gain access to a higher power source. It's also a powerful frequency that clears and dissolves any resistant energy of fear and worry, leaving you with a greater sense of joy, ease, and true confidence. So that might be a helpful frequency for you, even just like, searching on YouTube for music. It's funny actually, because when I typed in 852 hertz, it actually, the first video that came up is one that I regularly listen to when I'm meditating and even just reading cards for myself, and I didn't even realize that it was 852 hertz. So that might be something helpful to you. Especially, I kind of got the sense that you might have like a bit of a block in like your third eye or like there might be something weird going on there. If you are spiritual and you're into that kind of stuff in general, it might be helpful in connecting with like a higher source. And yeah, I don't know if that resonates for you. Great. The next thing that came through was granddad. And so for me, that's a very formal way to acknowledge like grandfather figure. In my family, we just call them like, papa or grandpa. So perhaps perhaps one of you or many of you actually refer to a grandfather figure as granddad specifically. I'm not sure if that might have some significance to you, but yes, I definitely got the sense of like a presence of like a grandfather figure watching over. It could also be two separate words, like granddad, like a, larger than life kind of father figure. But yes, it was kind of like the presence, like that energy's with you, watching over you, present in your life, if that makes sense for you. The next thing that came through was forceful awakening. So that might be something that you have recently experienced. Maybe you're going through it, maybe you're coming out the other side, or it might be particularly evident this month. So, something that wasn't necessarily expected, wasn't necessarily chosen, might have been a little bit tumultuous or have caught you off guard, that kind of facilitated an awakening. It may have been a really pleasant experience or not at all. It could be the opposite, but yeah, so there's a sense of like something really major happening, a really major shift, something completely kind of out of left field that just brings you to a new level of understanding, a new level of awareness that kind of opens your eyes to a deeper truth that kind of changes things for you. So you might be in a stage where that's coming in for you, or maybe you're in the process of trying to integrate that, because when we come into new information, it's not enough to just acknowledge that, okay, like this is what we believe now, but it's trying to figure out how we integrate that into our daily life, especially if it's something very different from our usual approach, and especially if it differs from the approach that the people around us take, then that can be difficult to navigate at times. So you might be dealing with something like that, if that makes sense for you. The next thing that came through was, why must it be so hard? So yeah, definitely a feeling of challenge or resistance. Maybe you're feeling like things just aren't working out for you. Maybe things are more difficult than they need to be. That could very well be tied to that frustration that I was picking up. Because that's kind of how I felt, is like when I was shuffling the cards and it like one little thing would happen and I'm like, oh gosh, like why is this happening? Why does this have to be so hard? Why can't I just get it done? And so, yeah, you might just feel like you're kind of running into little roadblocks or inconveniences. Maybe you're feeling a little bit drained and impatient. So those little things that are coming up do seem, unreasonably hard and are disruptive. And maybe it kind of like throws you off your game more than it should. So there is a sense like if you are experiencing something like that, that usually comes as a result of feeling worn down, right? So it's like maybe pushing too hard for too long, not getting adequate rest, or tending to your self-care needs. Then we're kind of like, when we're close to running on empty, then like little things start to get to us more. And so if you are in that energy, it might just be time to take a step away from whatever you're doing, focus some time and energy to check in with yourself and figure out what you can do to kind of, relax, so that you can come back to whatever it is that you're doing with renewed energy and patience, and not making things more difficult for yourself than they need to be. The next thing that came through was around and around, like going around in circles. So there might be like a specific habit or cycle that you keep repeating. Maybe it's something that you're trying to kind of break, like a cycle. Could be generational, it could just be, your own thing. But maybe it's something that you're aware of that's a struggle for you, that you're really trying to kind of break the habit or break the cycle, and you just kind of keep going around and around, having similar types of experiences. Again, that could be connected to frustration as well. It's like running into the same problem or the same type of person. And it's like, why haven't I like conquered this by now? So if that is an energy that you are up against and you're getting frustrated with, I know that it can be very difficult to tolerate it and, not to take it personally and not to kind of feel a little bit victimized, but it's just a reminder that we have the experiences that we need to learn and to grow and develop in the ways that we're intended to. So it's happening for our best interest. And so a lot of times things will repeatedly come up so that we can have continuous exposure. Each time we learn a little bit more, and then it's kind of like slowly growing. Sometimes we only have to be exposed to something once or twice in order to learn the lesson and really fully integrate that and move forward. So don't take it as a sign of failure or lack of progression. I would just take it as a sign that this is something that you're being given the opportunity to really work through and master. And if it's still coming up, then it's a pretty difficult, stubborn energy. So, just kind of hang in there. And know that a lot of times when you're being pushed and pushed and pushed with that, like that really kind of nagging energy, it's probably taking you in the direction where there's maybe like a bigger shift that needs to be made. So there could also be maybe something that you're not quite aware of, like a way that you're participating, or it may be a change that you need to make in your perceptions or in the decisions that you're making, that it's going to be more empowering, that will help you overcome whatever that energy is. So chances are you might not even have all the information that you need to fully end that cycle. And it's, this is just part of the process, and it can be, it can be a real bitch if you're in that energy. So don't worry, it will come to an end eventually. You'll get past it. And then on to the next, right? The next thing that came through was Leo, and then like Leonine. So this could be related specifically to lions. It could be Leo, like the name Leo, which could be Leonard, Leonardo, like any Leon, like any version of that. So it could be the name itself and associated with someone or something. It could be related to lions, because Leonine, it's basically saying like lion-like, so tendencies, energy, characteristics, that kind of thing. Or it could be an actual Leo, like the astrological sign. There might be a Leo in your life. You might have Leo in your chart. I'm not sure. I'd be curious. The next thing that came through is old-fashioned values. And I didn't get, like, a lot of the time we talk about old-fashioned stuff in a way that is kind of like, it's dated, it's archaic, it's restrictive, not necessarily helpful. But the way that I got this was like old-fashioned values in like, in a positive sense, like kindness and compassion and caring and like just being a good person, chivalry, that kind of thing. So perhaps you yourself have old-fashioned values, or you appreciate those values. Maybe those are being demonstrated to you and you didn't think that was like a thing anymore. But like I said, it's in a positive way. It's not like, outdated, sexist, kind of toxic garbage that we need to move forward from. It's like the admirable, old-fashioned qualities, and someone being, family oriented and that kind of thing. So if that makes sense for you, great. The next thing that came through is connecting to your roots. So this could be roots just in terms of like, yourself, what grounds you, what brings meaning and purpose in your life, what kind of keeps you humble and like both feet on the ground. But of course, this can be your family, your history, your ancestors, homeland, traditional like teachings, values, and anything that goes along with ancestry. So that can be, that can include generational trauma, that can include, gifts and, what's the word that I'm looking for? And skills that might be generational or passed on. It can also mean spiritual gifts. So maybe that's something that's important to you. Maybe that's something that you've been kind of connecting with, but it might be important to whatever you're doing this month, especially if that is a source of like passion and inspiration for you. The next thing that came through was kind of funny. So it was the song My Band by D12. And the funny thing is, I don't really know anything about that song. I haven't heard it in ages. I know that Eminem's in it. I wasn't even sure if it was by D12, but I know, like, it was literally the first line, like, these chicks don't even know the name of my band, but they're all on me like they want to hold hands. So not a huge fan of that song. It might be a song that you like. It might have some significance to you. You might want to listen to it, look up the lyrics. It's kind of funny. It's like the lead singer stealing all of the attention. People don't really know anything about the band, or they don't really care about him, but it's just like, oh, he's the lead singer. It's kind of like the glory. They're attracted to him. He's the cute one. And the rest of the band is kind of like chopped liver. And, you know, there's like, it's talking about like jealousy, self-centeredness, loyalty. There's all sorts of stuff there. So I don't know if maybe that applies to your situation. It could just be a song that you like from your past. The next thing was Forget to Remember, which I think is also a song. Okay, when I Googled it, it's like a metal or like rock song by Mudvayne. I've never heard of it before, to be honest with you. I looked at the lyrics. They were kind of dark, which you may connect with that. You may already know that song. But then the thing for me is like, you know, if there are really important events that you're trying to keep track of and you're like, okay, I have to remember to do this, or I have to remember to wish this person a happy birthday. And it's like you try to make a mental note of it and you still inevitably forget, like you forget to remember it. So you may be running into that, especially if you've got like a lot going on. So any type of organization, calendar, day planner that might help you keep better track of things. But I didn't get the sense that this was like a really serious problem. It's just like, oh, like, damn it, right? Like mental note failed. And the next thing that came through is it feels real. So maybe just a focus on things that are genuine, authentic, real connections, individuals, experiences, like seeing things as they are. Yeah, it just felt like a nice, stable, grounded kind of energy, something reliable, something enjoyable that you can count on. So however that might be showing up for you this month. The next thing that I got was kind of like a vision, and it was of someone walking down like this very, very, very long corridor with these massively high shelves. Like you couldn't even see the ceiling, and the shelves just kind of extended upward, and they were full of like boxes and books and like files and stuff like that. And yeah, almost kind of like a library, but it was really kind of interesting. And then I was like trying to figure out like what is this? Like I can't really relate it to anything that I've seen. And the thing that came to mind was like Akashic records. I know absolutely nothing about Akashic records. I am not certified. I'm not trained. I've never had a reading myself. I have not done much investigation as to what it even is, but I know it has something to do with like each individual kind of has a book or a record. It's basically about your soul, your past lives, like your purpose, your destiny, that kind of thing. And each and every individual has a record, and there are people who can access that information. So if that's something that you've heard of, that you're interested in, it might be worth looking up. If you've been thinking about getting an Akashic Records reading, then maybe this is confirmation that that's something you should look into. The next thing that came through was jumping off a cliff. And I didn't get this in like the literal sense, like you're going somewhere and you're going to be jumping off of a cliff, but it was kind of like, you know, when your parents say like, oh, if so-and-so jumped off a cliff, would you too, kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, but I don't get the sense that like you're doing what other people are doing to follow suit. It was more like you're the first one jumping off the cliff and everybody else is following you or imitating you. And so it was kind of like a fun, adventurous, rebellious type of energy. And like, also it reminded me of the Fool, like the leap of faith, right? So it very much had that energy, like, yeah, you might be taking some kind of leap, or you might be somebody who's known for just kind of like leaping in, following your heart, doing things in an unconventional manner, and like kind of blazing a new trail, right? And it makes the people who are more conservative feel uncomfortable. But yeah, it was definitely like, I got that sense of being scolded by somebody. Like, you don't just do things because someone else is doing them. And you're like, listen, I'm not doing it because someone else is doing it. Like, I am the one doing this first. Like, let's get this straight. And the last thing that came through was mind your P's and Q's. So that is not a saying I ever really use. I'm not sure if maybe this is something that someone said to you growing up. It is more of an old-fashioned saying, but the idea is basically like, you know, minding your manners, being polite and appropriate in certain, and like in situations. It's kind of like, the sense of, having eyes on you. People are watching what you're doing. So you want to be very careful that you are setting a good example, that you're treating people with kindness and respect. Not that you wouldn't normally, but, especially in today's climate, it's really easy to even say like one thing without thinking, and it gives a whole group of people the wrong impression. And then it's like, things can get out of hand really quickly, especially with social media and people jumping to conclusions. It's just like there isn't a whole lot of opportunity once stuff like that happens for there to be a healthy dialogue. And so it's basically just saying like, if you're in a position where you are speaking to a large group of people, or you're putting yourself out there, even if you're speaking on a sensitive topic, there is this or it could even just be from a standpoint of evaluation, or if you're applying for a job or dealing with clients or something like that. Basically just like, there might be a certain period of time where there's a little bit more time and attention and scrutiny on you, and people are paying very close attention to what you're saying and how you're saying it. There might even be people who are kind of like looking for you to make a mistake or mess up. And so it's basically just keeping that in mind as you move through the month. And like, obviously you don't need to be censoring yourself all the time, but you'll probably get a pretty good sense of when people are kind of like watching what you're doing, and you need to kind of just like, I don't know, kind of play it safe, mind your manners, make sure you're not giving anyone anything to kind of jump down your throat about later, right? Okay, so those are all of your channeled messages. So we're going to start off with your oracle cards. So your first oracle card is chop wood. That's funny. Hold on, let me get your other card out here. And your second is against the grain. So I'll put these together here in the middle just for right now while I read these cards. And then when I get your tarot cards out, I'll move them away. But it's actually funny that this card came out and that Leo or Leonine came through in your channeled messages, because this is actually the same oracle card that Leo had for this month. So that might just be highlighted for you if for example, if you're into astrology, if you have a Leo in your chart, or perhaps you are closely connected to a Leo. You guys could be in the same energy this month, focused on the same types of things. There's definitely the same advice. So that might be helpful. That's kind of funny. So I really, really enjoyed the message for this card for Leo. I think it's going to be pretty similar for you, but I've already got like a little bit of a different impression. So chop wood, this is based on a Zen proverb, and it's basically like, someone asking the question, what does a person do before they become enlightened? And the answer is they chop wood and carry water. So they tend to their everyday life, their survival, their chores, their tasks, right? Like the things that they have to do. And then the question is, what does one do after they become enlightened? And the answer is chop wood and carry water. So the answer doesn't change because, we're all here on this earth. We're living this physical existence, and as long as we're here, we are going to have to chop wood and carry water. We're going to have to take care of our basic needs. There are going to be those chores that are basically unavoidable. And it's not that changes, it's us who change. We change internally, like our thoughts, our perceptions, our beliefs, our values shift over time. And so it's basically saying that as we become more enlightened, the things that we do and the things that we have to take care of don't necessarily change, but it's what we bring to those activities that changes, right? It's how we feel on the inside. And so, for example, and like I said, I didn't in the past reading for Leo, I don't want to talk in terms of enlightenment because I feel like that's not a very inclusive way to approach this. So I put it in basic terms of like, happiness versus unhappiness. So for example, when it comes to those daily life tasks, like doing laundry, dishes, buying groceries, cooking meals, like just that basic stuff that sometimes, to be honest, it can feel draining and tiring, but it's just like the basic stuff that we have to do. to survive. Somebody who's unhappy is liable to feel maybe negatively about having to spend their time and effort doing those things, maybe not looking forward to it, not enjoying it, resisting it or fighting it, right? Even though it's good for them because it's basic, it's their basic needs being taken care of, which is what allows them to do everything else. Not everybody has that perspective, right? Whereas somebody who is happy sees those things like, this is just an unavoidable part of life. This is something that I have to do in order to take care of myself, in order to be at my best. So yeah, I'm going to wash the dishes, and not only am I going to wash them, but I'm going to put on some music and enjoy myself while I do it. Or, while I vacuum. Like it's basically like, it's your attitude towards your life and your belief about what you're doing that sets the tone. And the only difference between a happy person and an unhappy person is their own perspective and their inner state when they're doing things. So and this also highlights doing those simple everyday tasks in a meditative, contemplative way. So basically, Virgo, the appearance of this card is saying that, if you are somebody who is very much focused, very goal oriented, very hardworking, focused on your work, pursuing your dreams, manifesting your desires, and you're very much kind of focused on what you need to do to get there, putting in the work, projecting into the future and figuring out, like, all of that stuff is great. But this month, you're being asked to actually give yourself a break from thinking about those goals and those manifestations and that ultimate desire that you're trying to bring into your life. Give yourself a break from it. And it's not a break that's going to cause you to stagnate, and it's not that it doesn't matter to you any longer. It's just allowing yourself to kind of quiet down on that front so that you can receive more support and guidance. And the way that you're going to be able to connect with that is basically by simplifying your life. Like, all you need to do this month is just focus on, taking care of your stuff, right? Taking care of your money, going to work, doing the dishes, making food, that kind of stuff, like just the simple day-to-day tasks to make sure that you're showing up, that you're stepping into your, present moment awareness, that you're conscious while you're doing it. You're taking the opportunity to invest yourself in everything that you're doing, and even like to do it as a meditative practice and to see like how each thing that you're doing is adding to your life, how it is enriching you and taking care of you and setting a stable foundation for you to live so that the rest of your time and energy can go toward manifesting your dreams, right? So it's basically like, take everything back down to the basics and like find your joy in that. Especially if you have gone into a period of time where, things have been really busy and really hectic, and those everyday tasks feel like a drain and you're feeling kind of negative and worn down and resistant to them. It's, about reconnecting with them in a different way and allowing yourself to infuse even the most mundane, boring tasks with your own happiness, with your own energy, because that's something that you can choose now, and it's something that you can create for yourself. So yeah, it's like, those things, of course, they're inevitable and we can't avoid them. We have to do them, but you can make it fun. You can enjoy it, right? And even if you can't find a way to enjoy it, it's like, recognize that you're doing something good for yourself every time you do it. Like, this is your way of honoring yourself and taking care of your physical needs. And even though it seems like it's just another thing that you have to do that's not getting you closer to your goal, it actually is, because it's the most basic thing that you need to do in order to be here so that you can manifest your goals. So it does, those little things, they all add up, they're all important, and they do play a very important part in the bigger picture of you getting to where you want to be. And the beauty of stepping into this energy and really just allowing yourself to be mindful, like not be worried about accomplishing anything else, but just to be present in these little, daily chores and things that you have to do, is that your mind gets a chance to relax and to quiet down, because you're not thinking about your goals and you're not thinking about what you need to do to get there, or who you're going to connect with, or how you're going to do it, right? It's basically like releasing all of that that thought and analysis and pressure and all the ideas connected to manifestation, so that you can kind of clear your mind of all of that noise, give yourself a break, and then that leaves you, in an open and receptive state and in a quiet and present and mindful state, so that you're able to receive like a higher wisdom. You're able to kind of more adequately or more clearly hear the callings of your soul and your intuition, and it allows for you to have like aha and like breakthrough moments, right? That are basically integral to your growth and development and to you manifesting this desire. So sometimes the best thing that we can do is like rest and disconnect, right? Because we go in cycles and in seasons, and just like there's no point in and trying to like plant seeds in the winter, right? So there's a time for rest, and this seems like a rest period for you, where you kind of step back from those goals that you're trying to achieve and just focus on the daily tasks. And that's going to kind of set you free, and it's going to allow you to perhaps connect with new ideas, new information, new inspiration that's going to take you leaps and bounds ahead in whatever it is that you're trying to manifest or whatever it is that you're working on, more so than if you were trying to continuously focus on and achieve this entire month. So it's kind of like that this is enough to just be doing this and worrying about this is enough. And the beautiful thing is that like, if the daily tasks are something that are tiresome and kind of weighing you down, then it's like, even if you were to manifest your desires, if just the daily, like task of living in the physical world is already enough to consume you and exhaust you, how are you going to have enough energy to participate when your desires come to fruition, let alone to be able to enjoy it? Because you're still going to have to do those everyday life things, right? So this is basically like also giving you the opportunity to reframe those little things, to feel good about them, to bring a new kind of perspective and energy to them, so that it's something that you can see as an investment in yourself that's revitalizing. And then when you get to the point that your dreams do start to come in, you're going to have all of that extra energy to invest into that and to enjoy it, because you're not going to be so focused on kind of fighting the little everyday stuff, right? So I really like it. It doesn't have as much as it's a card of rest and kind of stepping back from your manifestation, it does have a very big picture feel to it. And I love that it's come up with against the grain as well, because this is all about you being kind of like radically authentic and different, like very much going against the grain. And so you can see like there are birds here flying underwater. And so it's kind of like, yeah, you might be somebody who is a little bit unconventional. You have like a unique perspective. You maybe challenge conventions. You challenge, the idea of like what is possible, what people can accomplish, how it can be accomplished. You might have really like unique and creative viewpoints and ideas, and people may challenge you as a result, because their ideas about the world and how things work are limited. And in you kind of being out there and being so open, it might not be well received, right? And so if you're somebody that feels like maybe a little bit different, a little bit unique, like you don't quite belong, like people don't quite get you, it's basically about like leaning into that energy, because that is your creative power, right? Like, and allowing yourself to fully own that and to kind of shine your own light, to express your authenticity without hesitation, and not to be worried about if it's well received or if other people understand, because this is not an energy that just anyone will get, right? And it's not an energy that just anyone is meant to get, because if you are in that space, then you're meant to kind of be a bit of a leader, a bit of a creative visionary. Like some of the most brilliant people of our time have been oddities, like just they go against the grain, and that's what makes them so incredible and so memorable, and allows them to have such intense impacts and to do work that nobody's done before, right? And I'm not saying that you're going to be like the next Einstein, you very well could be, but it's kind of like allowing yourself to step into and harness that energy and seeing it as something super valuable, because it very much is. And that having a different perspective and being able to fathom a certain concept or ability, or dream a big dream and see how something that seems impossible could become possible, it's actually an amazing gift, because that is directly tied to your creativity, your inspiration. And it's kind of like the world needs people who dare to dream, to kind of push the limits, right? And not everybody's going to get on that train with you, but the more that you allow yourself to step into that energy and not to censor yourself, and to kind of like appease the masses, you don't have to worry, if you do put some people off, or even if you draw criticism as a result. Like, that's always going to happen. The people who don't understand are generally like going to attack what doesn't make sense to them, and that's not your fault. But by stepping into that energy, allowing yourself to investigate it, not only are you doing yourself a great service by allowing yourself to grow and expand, and to just, to kind of be untethered to the expectations of society, and not being willing to be shoved into that box, and to see what kind of beautiful life you can create for yourself as a result. But also stepping into that energy, the people who don't match and who don't understand will simply fall away. They'll become irrelevant, right? It's not a big deal. And but the brilliant thing is, you'll be shining that light for other people. And so the support and the resources and the people that you need to help you and to connect with you and to make you feel seen and heard will ultimately come in, because when you are honoring yourself and your authenticity, and you're showing up in that high energy, that is the state that you're meant to be in. And when you do that work to honor yourself, everything kind of falls into place for you. So you might feel a little bit out of place. You might feel misunderstood. You might feel lonely. You might feel like you can't take action, or you can't express your beliefs because you're just so different that doing so would mean that, you're going to be branded as crazy and people are going to stay away from you. But those are just fears. And I think it's important to recognize that what it actually is a beautiful, beautiful gift. And the more that you step into that and express that, the more you're going to connect with other people who are on the same wavelength. And this is like allowing yourself to fully submerge yourself in that unique energy, to go against the grain, to not be afraid to ruffle feathers. And, it's like the most radical act of rebellion that any one person can kind of like go through is just being authentic, especially in today's society with what's going on. Yeah, I don't even want to get into that, but I think if this resonates for you, you probably understand what I mean. But yeah, I think this is a beautiful time. So, and in terms of you connecting to your unique nature and your very different perspectives and ideas on life, perhaps part of you having more clarity on what that is and becoming more comfortable with it, connecting with it more, so that you might be able to express that more freely and openly. Maybe chop wood, and carry water, and tending to your tasks in a contemplative, present, meditative way is going to allow you some clarity on, how that is going to come into your life, how you're going to express that, and how that might impact, the things that you're trying to manifest, the impact that you're trying to have. And so I kind of get the sense that not only is really simplifying things and just allowing yourself to enjoy the simple pleasures in life and to find satisfaction in just taking care of the absolute basic necessities going to simplify your life and allow you to get more information on this big picture and the desires that you're looking to manifest. But I think that's innately tied to who you are as a person, your unique creative abilities and your viewpoints, and this gift that you have, and maybe coming into a deeper level of awareness of what that is. So it's kind of two-pronged in terms of your destiny and your manifestation, but also your connection to yourself, your self-awareness, your confidence in what you have to offer. So I think that's really awesome. And we're going to pull you some tarot cards. So your first card is the Two of Pentacles. Oops. Your second card is the Five of Wands. Your third card is the Four of Cups. Oh, that's an interesting one. I like the vibe. It is very against the grain. I'll explain once I read, but I'm liking this already. Oh, your fourth card is the Star. And then we have the Hierophant at the bottom of the deck. Okay, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. I will pull all of your tarot cards at once and we'll just do a big read on them as a whole. So we'll clarify this Two of Pentacles. Jeez. Right, Two of Pentacles is clarified by the Six of Pentacles. Oh my gosh, there you go. There's Leo. Five of Wands is clarified by Strength. Four of Cups is clarified by the Ten of Swords, which is wild. And then we'll clarify this. Oh, I just dropped a whole bunch of cards. Clarify the Star here. Star is clarified by the Two of Wands. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Father of Wands or the King of Wands. Okay. So, Virgo. The interesting thing is, like, even immediately as I look at this, the Hierophant, there's like a staircase that's kind of going up almost like into the universe. Like there's a light there, there's opportunity, knowledge, all of this stuff, right? And quite often a Hierophant is about, it can be a teacher, an authority figure, a higher level of wisdom, knowledge. Usually there's a priest on the card. So a lot of the time it is affiliated with religion, but not only like religion and like structured like modes of education, learning, but also like, you know, viewpoints, beliefs. But this can also about being able to challenge those rigid structures and connect with a spirituality that kind of transcends any definition in terms of, you know, religious beliefs or practices or right and wrong. And so for this to come up, but this very much reminds me almost like of the hallway, right? So and there's the sense that, like, you know, there is knowledge to be gained, you know, there's ascension to be had, and it should be a joyful, unique experience for you. There's no kind of like one size fits all. And so the sense that I get is this is very much freedom from restriction, being confined by a certain set of beliefs where people say, like, this is right, this is wrong. If you're not this, then you're like a very intense, like, religious vibe here. But yeah, so I very much get the sense that this might actually be somewhat connected to your spiritual beliefs, your own kind of journey of self-discovery, connecting to your intuition, following your own path. And that, for it to come up with the King of Wands, like, it could be like that you're dealing with somebody that is a fire sign, because the court cards often represent like individuals that might show up in our lives. So it could be that coming into contact with a fire sign or someone with that passionate fire energy that's like stable and solid might have kind of sparked a new level of awareness or realization, or kind of like taking you another step on this path to your own personal ascension, and kind of renewed your drive to connect with yourself and your spirituality, and to allow that to have more space in your life. Perhaps that is the underlying energy here. This could be just about following your passion and taking action in the world, like inspired action to kind of like live your best life. So the energy that you're being advised to come into the month of April with is to kind of keep things in balance. So it actually does go very nice. Like, so she's balancing these two pentacles, and it's like an art, it's a dance, right? So when you think about balance, we are never like perfectly in balance all the time. It's like we're not going to walk straight down the middle path all of the time. We're always going to be oscillating from side to side, from dark to light, good to bad. We're always going to be having a range of experiences. We'll be fluctuating. Sometimes we fluctuate more than others, depending on what we're going through, what our external circumstances are. But this is balancing like the physical and the material. So your responsibilities, your money, your job, your home, all of that kind of like your material possessions with the intangible. So it's like your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your inspiration, your connection to the divine, your ancestors and your guides, if that's something that you believe in. So this is the world of the unseen, and recognizing that both are important, right? So it's important that we acknowledge the things that we can't see because they still exist and they impact us, like energy impacts us, and things that we can't see, we're able to still sense, and they play an important tangible role. And it's also like, this is where our creativity and our inspiration comes from. So we can kind of daydream and access that information and bring it down into reality. So, it's not just about the physical world. And in the same sense, like we need to live and exist in the physical world. We have to take care of ourselves. We need, money. We need to tend to our basic needs. So we have to always kind of keep those in balance. And it's going to be a dance because at sometimes, the practical grounded stuff is going to be more important. And sometimes the spiritual, emotional, like inspirational kind of stuff is going to be more important. So it's kind of like figuring out that dance, but recognizing that they both play an important part and that they should be in balance and harmony together, because that is part of a well-rounded life, and it's important to do both, right? And so with the Six of Pentacles showing up here, that's about kind of coming into harvest, right? And being able to see, to kind of start reaping the rewards of your efforts. So, your garden that you've planted and tended to carefully has come into bloom. It's time to harvest, and you're coming into abundance, and it's a time of joy and celebration and allowing yourself to appreciate the work and the results of your labor, and also having excess that you're able to share with other people. So you might have just be coming into a place where you're feeling a little bit more stable, a little bit more abundant, financially, or in terms of your career, in terms of your belongings, or like your home life. And so it's kind of like, you've got a little bit more stability to help you feel grounded enough that you can start to connect with more of that, more of the intangible, right? And to start integrating that into your experience. So perhaps you were just waiting to kind of get things taken care of on a physical level before you could start to kind of balance things out, because maybe that's where your focus was on home and career. But it goes really nicely with the chop wood and with this against the grain, because it's like you are going to be balancing, and she needs to be present, right? So to keep things in balance, you have to be conscious and present and aware. You have to know what you're thinking and feeling, what's best for you. You kind of have to be able to assess, like, am I leaning too far in one direction? Do I need to correct? And that is a lot easier to do when you are in your present moment awareness as you're doing those day-to-day tasks. So that really is kind of saying, like, focus on what you're doing and know that you're drawing from both at the same time. So even when you're doing something in the physical world that might be just normal and mundane, like sweeping your floor, not only are you able to enjoy it, but you can open yourself up to receive information. And sometimes, the greatest sparks of inspiration come during those quiet moments when we're not doing anything particularly important. And it's because we're open and receptive, and we're not always, trying to force things to happen, that things are allowed to come to us. So I think that's a really great energy. Your challenge this month, it's going to show up likely in the form of, it could be conflict. It could be scrutiny. It could be people kind of like questioning you, poking at you, maybe people disagreeing with you. There's a sense that there might be like a little bit of friction in relationships, friction with other people. And I kind of get the sense that your passion, your integrity, and your strength might be tested in some way. So this could be in relation to something that you're currently doing. This could be in relation to your work. It could be in relation to just who you are and the way that you're different, the way that you perceive the world, and kind of like going against the grain, marching to the beat of your own drum, and the fact that that inevitably can trigger and set off a lot of people. And the Five of Wands quite often, it can be about like, people undermining you, testing you, speaking down to you, challenging you. And a lot of times the energy that comes up in us as a result is defensiveness. So I would just say this month, be aware of anyone or any particular situation that makes you feel as though you need to defend yourself, particularly if you're not doing anything remarkable. Like if you're just being yourself, doing your thing, living your life and trying to connect with the things that are meaningful and important to you, and just like taking care of your home and your health. And like if people are kind of on you about it, it's recognizing that if people are coming after you, it's because there's something that you're doing that is that's reflecting their own struggle or inadequacy or weakness or fears back to them. So basically, whatever you're doing is just making them more aware of whatever they're struggling with. It's not necessarily a result of what you're doing, unless you're being like outwardly, hurtful or negative to someone, which I don't get the sense that you would be. So this is about like having confidence in yourself and knowing that if people are challenging you, people are testing you, people might be putting you down or criticizing you, or like even just downright like attacking you, trying to kind of like, tear you down or knock you down. It's recognizing that that has nothing to do with you. You don't need to take responsibility for that. And to be aware anytime that you're feeling defensive, to not let that wear you down, right? Like to not give into that defensive energy, to not justify those types of energies with a response. It's kind of like, being the lion, relying on your inner strength. And sometimes like being kind and just not stooping to that level is the best way to establish your strength, right? It's being confident, being connected to your passion, expressing yourself authentically, knowing what's important to you, and not giving anyone else the satisfaction of being able to, make you second guess that or taint that or take that away from you, right? So the most important thing is knowing what you need to do for yourself and doing it, and knowing that anybody who has a problem with it, as long as you're not doing something outwardly harmful, is just struggling with their own thing. It's just projection onto you. And that will give you a very good idea of what kind of boundaries might need to be set, or what kind of people that you might need to move away from in your life. Because this can be like toxic energy that's challenging you, and like trying to see like, are you confident? Are you gonna let somebody talk down to you and make you feel small? Or are you gonna do what you need to do to protect your energy and to stay kind of grounded in your space, because you've got bigger things to work on for yourself, right? So I think it's just about like, getting into this present contemplative, like meditative state, simplifying your life, and then you can be extra aware of when that energy is coming in. Sometimes this comes in really hot, like hard and fast, and it's obvious. Sometimes it's subtle. It can also be like passive aggression and manipulation and stuff like that. So it's like you might need that kind of peace and quiet in your mind, not only to connect further with yourself and your inspiration, but also to kind of maybe bring into the light of your awareness where that kind of shady, toxic energy is coming in, the things that people say and do that make you feel defensive. Because obviously, like, we have to take responsibility for our triggers as well, because that tells us what's important to us and where we need to heal. And a lot of times it's connected to our past, but also a lot of times that is connected to like other people's problems that are just being projected. And those are things that you've got your own work and your own healing to do. You don't need to be taking responsibility for anyone else's anger or frustration or inadequacy. And like, The people who are trying to knock you off your game and see if they can bring your confidence down, those people, like, as much as it can be infuriating to deal with, it's like you have to recognize that people who are confident and happy and healthy and balanced, they don't do that to other people. So if you're finding yourself kind of like the victim, know that it's actually the other way around. Like, that person is kind of the victim to themselves, and you're just a mirror to them, right? So yeah, staying in your strength, staying in your power, doing what you need to do to take care of yourself, and not letting this challenging energy knock you off your game, however that shows up for you. And the interesting thing is that the recommended way for you to kind of overcome this challenge and this energy, it's very unconventional. And it's kind of like paying attention to the things that you don't care about, right? To recognize, like, especially if people are criticizing you for, going against the grain, doing things differently, not being like usual or appropriate or the same as everybody else, not meeting those typical expectations. And it's like, this is an opportunity for you to see, like, what things hold no value for you. What things do you find to be a waste of time or disappointing, things that haven't worked out? How has that shaped you and allowed you to step further into your own authenticity, right? Because it's like, if you can see what people are saying to you and the way that they're trying to kind of get at you, and how that is connected to things that don't have any meaning to you and that don't really have a place in your life, it's a whole lot easier to let that just be like wind passing by your ear, rather than allowing yourself to absorb it or to react to it or to take it personally, right? And it's recognizing that could very well be deeply tied to really, negative outlooks, beliefs, thoughts, and perceptions. Like, it could be limiting beliefs. It could be fears, like fear about being yourself, fear about, living the type of life that you want to live, fear about if you will ever find your people, or if you'll ever be happy and satisfied and fulfilled, if you're ever going to have, your happily ever after with, depth and meaning and beauty and joy and connection and love, right? And so it's kind of recognizing that these people, like, a lot of the times when we do react, it's because that triggers within us our own fears, right? And so sometimes people can project their fears, and it triggers our own fears about, our worth and our abundance. And the Four of Cups is a card of kind of like looking to the past and disappointments and feeling apathetic and disconnected, like, nothing really matters because things never work out. And meanwhile, there's this opportunity for happiness here. And I think you need to see, so look, she's actually looking at these people that are kind of being aggressive. And it's like, if you focus your time and energy on what they're saying and what they're doing and allowing that to impact you and bring you down, then it's like you're choosing to participate in something that isn't good for you and doesn't align with your values, particularly if they're trying to kind of box you in. And your happiness is here. It's you. It's your authenticity. It's going against the grain, doing things your own way, like dreaming big and just being different, right? And so it's recognizing that this will kind of bring up those wounds. And like with the 10 being here, it's like you've already kind of been through it. It's like, I think that you've already been like working through your own stuff, your own, it could be depression, it could be anxiety, it could be your own fears and limiting beliefs. And I get the sense that you've already been working on bringing that to your awareness and trying to heal that, because the 10 here signifies that you're kind of at the end of that, right? And so it's like you've had all of these experiences, and what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? And it gives you a deeper sense of self, and you've learned a lot of lessons, you have a lot of perspective. And so now it's time to let go of the things that no longer serve you, the perceptions, the thoughts, the beliefs, the experiences that hurt you and that disempower you and cause you to limit yourself out of fear instead of stepping into your authenticity. This is the time to let it go, right? And so it's recognizing that, like, when people are coming at you, do you care about what they're saying to you? Like, whatever it is that they're criticizing you on, whatever they want you to do, is it what you think and feel? Is it what matters to you? Does it feel right to you? Or are you like, I don't care, it really doesn't matter, right? And so recognizing that this is just a very powerful opportunity for you to let go of the things that don't matter, especially if that's what people are bringing to you. And then that's going to be kind of like a pivotal part of you really like closing the door on all that unhelpful, negative stuff, the things that inspire fear and anxiety and that keep you from being able to kind of connect to your desires and your joy and your happiness, and really like fully go against the grain, be our authentic, unique self. And the nice thing is the highest possible outcome for this month is shown as the Star, which is a card of hope and healing and strength. It's being able to kind of weather all of the storms, whether good or bad, and to learn and to grow. And, if some really awful, horrible things have happened to you and you've had a lot to struggle through, it's like having the strength to know that you are able to handle those things and know that, your trauma, your pain, your struggle doesn't define you. It just gives you the opportunity to love yourself better. It gives you the opportunity to heal, to dig deep and to connect with your inner strength and to be inspired to believe that, things will get better, right? So it's kind of like being on the path to healing, allowing yourself to experience what you're experiencing without judgment, and know that whether it appears positive or negative, it's all for your growth and development, and not allowing yourself to be broken, right? Because this is the sense that it's like you're connected to the divine, right? And you have that divine inner wisdom that is always going to be guiding you. And it's trusting that you're on the path that's meant for you. You're having the experiences that you're meant to have so that you can learn and grow the way that your soul is intended to help you kind of like reach your glory, like to be your most authentic self. And the really cool thing is that for the Star, which is the card of hope and healing and faith and inner strength and divine guidance, it's like, it's kind of like a major shift in energy and maybe even releasing. Like there's a lot of releasing pain and, apathy and overcoming this like ability that other people have to make you feel insecure or weak, right? Or to manipulate you. And for it to come up with the Two of Wands is all about having an opportunity to make a decision. And you can make a decision to kind of like, go with the flow, take the well-worn path, follow in the footsteps of people who have gone there before, if that feels like something that's right to you, or to kind of make a decision to do something differently, to follow your heart and blaze your own trail. And this can also be about stepping out of a comfort zone. So it's like perhaps this month is going to be really pivotal in you working through and kind of balancing out like the physical world and your physical reality with what's going on inside and who you really are, and healing whatever is standing in the way of you really truly being able to connect to your own unique self and to like harness the creative power that comes with this very unconventional knowledge and wisdom and view that you have, and to be able to embrace that, right? And to follow that, because that is going to be a creative kind of life of passion and, a more adventurous life where you can kind of play by your own rules, right? And know that you have your own internal guidance system. So I really love that for you, honestly. So I'm going to get we'll try and get you 4 affirmations. I think some might have flipped over. Hold on, I just have to check. Yes, we're going to try and get you 4 affirmations, and then I will finish off with the oracle card, which I'll read directly from the guidebook, and we'll tie everything together. I know this is already a long reading, so I'm going to do my best to speed things up. Your first affirmation: I can think my way out of fear, which I love. Because like that's it kind of goes hand in hand with this. It's like when you've already looked your fears in the eye and seen how they're not serving you, you realize the power that your mind has, and that if you believe that fear, that's what makes it real. And so it's kind of like reclaiming your personal power, right? Whenever I compare myself to others, I simply say this prayer: the light I see in them is a reflection of my inner light. So just as I was saying that, you're a mirror for people that are coming at you from like a lower vibrational place, that are trying to knock you down. The same goes for the people, that you admire, right? And that can even like spark feelings of like jealousy. It can spark insecurity as well if you see something that someone else has that it's like that you want, and it's recognizing that if you recognize it in them, it's a part of you, and it's probably just something that you need to learn to connect with and to allow yourself to feel comfortable expressing. And you can have those same things too. You wouldn't have that connection and that reaction if it wasn't already a part of you. So that's wonderful. And then it's also like not getting caught up in comparison, right? And not allowing comparison to kind of knock you off your game and kind of break you down, right? I allow people to witness their behavior so I can help them move beyond it, again with the mirror theme, right? So you know, being confident, digging into your inner strength. And with the Leo card being here and with that whole connection that I already made, you might also be leaning on like a Leo or a fire sign or somebody who displays those qualities for strength. Like that person might be helping you through, and they might be helping you learn how to harness that power for yourself. Like somebody who's, maybe naturally more connected to that energy can help you as it's something that you're trying to learn how to access. But yeah, it's recognizing that if people are coming to you with like negative energy, it has more to do with them. You're just a mirror for them. And so you don't want to allow them to impact you. You want to hold the line, right? You want to hold your frequency, set that example, whether people agree with it or not. Sometimes they'll just get more angry if they can't get to you, but that's their problem, right? And so the only way that they're going to move beyond it is to get some clarity for themselves, not if people kind of give them what they want, right? Because they don't know what's best for them. So you are a mirror for the people around you. And that might also be a challenge for you, is that you might be attracting a lot of people that have lessons to learn, and you're meant to be that mirror for them. So you could be triggering a lot of people, even unintentionally, just by being your authentic self, which it's difficult, right? I've had a lot of those experiences myself, and that is a hard energy to be in, especially if you feel like misunderstood and kind of alone. So just know you've got resources, you've got people in your corner. And then relationships are assignments for optimal growth and healing. So yes, any positive aspects of relationship, negative aspects of relationship, they're meant to help us grow and learn, to illuminate our values, the things that are important for us, areas for growth and healing. So whether it's a really challenging relationship or a really beautiful relationship, every relationship is valuable, even if it's just to trigger you so that you have to like step into your inner strength and set boundaries to say like, I'm not going to deal with somebody who treats me this way. Like that is for your growth as well. So it's seeing the bigger picture and knowing that there's a bigger purpose to your interactions with people, whether positive or negative, allows you to take things less personally, especially if you're on a path to your own healing where you're trying not to get down on yourself, or especially if confidence is something that's a bit of a struggle. Like, yeah, it's knowing there's a bigger reason for all of this. All right, and then for your final oracle card, you got Trust the Niggle. And it says, what is the niggling feeling trying to tell you? So just bear with me for a moment. I am going to read directly from the guidebook if I can find it. It's funny. I set it here so that it would be ready to go, and then I put something on top of it. Okay, so trust the niggle. What is the niggling feeling trying to tell you? That niggling feeling, that annoying niggling feeling, that inconvenient annoying niggling feeling. Try as you might, it's there, and it ain't going anywhere. Most people spend their years ignoring their niggling feelings, throwing their best dollops of stubbornness, ego, and post-rationalization to numb them out. It's exhausting, and until you face the niggle, life just throws you more bait to awaken it, to draw your attention to the light within you that is bursting to come out. The niggle is an arrow pointing to what is standing in your way, the relationship, the conversation, the decision, the shift that needs to be made, the stone in your shoe. Often we feel that niggling feeling in our body first. Many people think that intuition is something from the higher realms, but in fact it is the body that is the intuitive one, working through our senses to deliver vibrational information. It takes just a moment every day to scan your body to receive the intuitive intelligence and act on it quickly. You are being called to face the niggle now. If you don't face it, the universe will throw something much bigger and more obvious in your path, and then you will likely regret that you didn't answer the niggle in the first place. I know it's scary, but you are safe. Answer the niggle now. And then the question is, what is your niggling feeling trying to tell you? So yeah, this is very much a good time to quiet yourself, quiet your mind, do your daily tasks meditatively so that you open up space to be able to check in with yourself, a greater level of awareness of what you're sensing, what you're feeling intuitively. And then, like I said, you might have if you are more spiritual in nature, you might have a block, like in your third eye or your crown chakra. That might be something to think about, because that might also be a way that you can really sense, because this is about being able to kind of get those downloads, like connect to that higher energy as well as your own intuition. And I really love that too, because chances are the niggling feeling, that intuitive feeling, knowing what's right for you, knowing what you feel drawn to, that is your true self, your highest self. That is your authenticity longing to be expressed, so that you can kind of, start living, start benefiting, I guess, from your ideas, from your creativity, from your authenticity, and really step into this energy, because that will open up new doors, new opportunities, new connection with people that you'll feel more aligned with. So yeah, and it's basically saying, like, I get the sense that you might know what this is, because it might be something that you feel uncomfortable with or you're trying to ignore. And yeah, it's kind of like, I think we've all had those experiences where intuitively, like, that you should or shouldn't do something, and if you try to avoid it, sometimes it backfires on you. It very much came up with the energy that I was feeling about being stuck in cycles, hitting your head against the wall, feeling a little bit frustrated. So yeah, I think it's basically saying it's a good time to really allow yourself to investigate what that is and how that might be showing up for you, what messages your intuition has for you, and where that might be guiding you to make adjustments or changes, because to step into that energy now intentionally of your own volition is going to be something really beautiful and empowering. And chances are it can't be avoided, whatever this is. So you're probably going to be guided to step into it sooner rather than later. But if you don't kind of step into that energy and accept it for yourself, then chances are that your circumstances might shift in such a way that it can't be avoided, and you're going to have to do it anyways. So that's really encouraging though, because it's kind of like, if you need permission to just be your best self, to be yourself, to express yourself, to do what's most important to you, and to throw, all of the convention and all of the, structure and, traditional ways of doing things to the wind, it's seems like this is a really good time to do it. So I love that for you, Virgo. I love this reading. I hope that April brings you everything your heart's desire. If you enjoyed this reading, please feel free to leave me a comment. Absolutely. If there's anyone that you think might benefit from my readings, feel free to share with them. If you haven't already, please head on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot and check out some of my other readings, and make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on new readings as they're posted. But yeah, Virgo, it was a pleasure reading for you. I love this energy for you. Thank you for sharing this time and space with me, and I very much look forward to reading for you next month. But in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.